All right, welcome to another deep dive. You ready to get into it?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Today we're cracking open The Richest Man in Babylon. It's by George S. Clason.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, this book has been around, like, forever. It's almost a century old, right?
It really has. It's a
Yeah.
testament to its enduring wisdom, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to explore why this book is still so popular, almost 100 years later,
Yeah,
and see what we can learn from it and, like, how we can actually apply it to, our own lives.
for sure. What always fascinates me about Clason's work is how he uses these tales from ancient Babylon to give financial advice that is, like, surprisingly relevant today.
Right.
It's kind of like a self-help book, but disguised as historical fiction.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah.
So he starts off with the story of these two guys, Bansir and Kabi.
Right.
They're like typical hardworking dudes, right?
Yeah, they're putting in the hours.
Exactly. But they're just frustrated because they're not wealthy. They're like, we're working hard, but where's the money?
It's a feeling I think a lot of people can relate to.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And so they decide to go seek advice from the richest man in Babylon.
Makes sense. Go straight to the source.
Exactly. They go to this guy named Arkad.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. Arkad wasn't born rich.
No, not at all. He started from very humble beginnings.
Right, so he had to learn these financial secrets himself.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that he learned them from a moneylender named Algamish.
Okay.
And this really kind of reinforces the idea that anyone can achieve financial success regardless of, where they started.
Right, right. It's inspiring.
It is. I think one of the most memorable quotes from the book is when Algamish says, "Wealth, like a tree, grows from a tiny seed. The first copper you save is the seed from which your tree of wealth shall grow."
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about, like, those small starting points, right?
It does. It shows the power of starting small and being consistent.
So we all have to plant that seed, right?
Mm.
Okay, so what did Arkad learn from Algamish? Like, what are some of those secrets that helped him grow his wealth?
Well, Arkad actually outlines 7 cures for a lean purse.
Oh,
These are like his financial commandments.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear them. What's cure number 1?
Okay. The first cure is start thy purse to fattening.
Okay.
So he recommends setting aside at least a 100/10th of your earnings,
Okay.
however small they may be.
He basically says a part of all I earn is mine to keep.
Right. Like pay yourself first.
Okay, got it. And how does that work with, like, budgeting today? Like, we're not using copper coins anymore.
Well, it's the same principle. Think about like your bank accounts, your budgeting apps,
Right.
Even things like automated savings plans.
Yeah.
The idea is to make saving a non-negotiable part of your routine.
Okay, so prioritize that saving.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. What's cure number 2?
Okay, cure number 2 is control thy expenditures. And this is where budgeting comes in. So Arkad advises us to, really distinguish between the things that we absolutely need to spend money on
Yeah.
and the things that we simply desire.
Mm.
So it's about being mindful and understanding where your money is going.
That's hard, though, right? Like, we're bombarded with ads all the time.
It is.
It's easy to, like, overspend.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where a budget can be really helpful. It's like a spending plan, right? To help you prioritize your needs and allocate your funds accordingly.
So make a plan for your money.
Yeah, exactly. And that leads us to cure number 3, which is make thy gold multiply.
Ooh. Okay, so this is where the investing comes in.
Exactly. So Arkad understood that your money should be working for you.
Okay.
Wealth should be active, not passive.
So, like, don't let your money just sit there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But investing can be kind of scary, right?
It can be.
It's a little intimidating. There's, like, so many options and all this jargon.
It is. That's a really great question. And it's something we're going to explore more in part 2 of this deep dive.
Okay.
We'll look at how Arkad's principles can be applied to, like, modern investment options, things like index funds, real estate, even starting a business.
All right, looking forward to that. But before we get ahead of ourselves,
Yeah.
what about cure number 4?
Okay, cure number 4 is guard thy treasures from loss.
Okay, so what does that mean? Like, in terms of investing, how do we apply that today?
I think this is where risk management comes in. And, Arkad actually learned this lesson the hard way. He lost some of his savings early on to let's just say a dishonest gem dealer.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it happens. But it highlights the importance of doing your research, seeking advice from knowledgeable people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't jump into something blindly.
Don't get caught up in those get-rich-quick schemes.
Exactly. Don't believe everything you hear. It's also a good idea to diversify your investments.
Okay, so don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Okay.
Okay, so we're saving, we're budgeting, we're investing wisely, we're protecting our assets. What's next on Arkad's list?
Okay, cure number 5 is make of thy dwelling a profitable investment.
Ooh, so homeownership.
Exactly. He recognized the financial and emotional benefits of owning your own home.
Mm-hmm. And it's still a big goal for a lot of people today.
It is. It's often seen as this cornerstone of stability.
Right. But it's also a huge responsibility, right?
It is. It's not just about the joy of owning a place. It's about, the mortgage payments, the taxes.
Yeah, the maintenance.
Yeah, all those costs that come with it.
Mm-hmm. It's a big commitment.
It is.
Okay, so speaking of the future, what's cure number 6?
Cure number 6 is ensure a future income.
Okay.
So while life insurance didn't really exist back in ancient Babylon, Arkad understood the importance of planning for, retirement,
Right.
protecting your family's future, like having that safety net.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty forward thinking
Hmm.
for back then, I guess.
Yeah, and it's really important today,
Mhm.
especially considering, things like rising healthcare costs, longer lifespans.
Right. So thinking long term.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've got 6 cures. What's the final one?
The 7th cure is increase thy ability to earn.
Okay, so like invest in yourself.
Exactly. Arkad emphasized the importance of, continuous learning, developing new skills, honing your craft.
Mm-hmm. So you are your most valuable asset.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So these 7 cures are like the foundation of his financial wisdom.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He also talks a lot about, the importance of being honorable,
Okay.
paying your debts, taking care of your family.
So it's about more than just the money.
Yeah, it's about integrity,
Right.
building wealth with integrity. So now, Arkad, he was a wise teacher. He knew that lectures weren't always the best way to get his point across, right?
Yeah.
So he put his own son to the test.
Okay.
His son, Nomasir.
Okay, so this is the story of Nomasir and the 5 laws of gold.
Yeah.
So it's like the ancient Babylonian version of like a trust fund kid, right?
Pretty much.
What happens when you give a young guy a bag of gold and say, go make your fortune?
Well, you'll have to wait till part 2 to find out.
Ooh, a cliffhanger.
We'll explore Nomasir's journey, his failures, the lessons he learns about building wealth, and the true meaning of financial freedom.
All right, can't wait for that. So last time we left off with Arkad giving his son a bag of gold and like sending him off into the world.
Right, to make his own fortune.
Yeah. So did Nomasir become like this financial superstar?
Well, not quite. He actually ended up losing all the gold.
What? Really?
All of it.
Yeah, every last bit of it.
Oh, man. What happened? Did he, gamble it all away or something?
Not exactly. He made some classic mistakes. He trusted the wrong people, got caught up in those get-rich-quick schemes,
Yeah.
and basically just, let his emotions get the better of him.
So, he didn't think things through.
Right. He wasn't patient or strategic.
Man, I bet Arkad was not happy about that. Well, you'd think so, but Arkad actually used this as a teaching moment. He didn't bail Nomasir out,
Okay.
Instead, he gave him a clay tablet with the 5 laws of gold inscribed on it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, like, his financial commandments.
Exactly.
Okay. So what are these 5 laws of gold? What's the first one?
Okay, so the first law kind of echoes that first cure we talked about earlier. It says, gold cometh gladly and in increasing quantity to any man who will put by not less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future and that of his family.
Okay. So basically pay yourself first.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. What about the second law?
Okay, the second law says, gold laboreth diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds for it profitable employment, multiplying even as the flocks of the field.
So it's like find those good investment opportunities, put your money to work.
Right, make it grow.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the third law?
All right, the third law says, gold clingeth to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men wise in its handling.
So get some good advice from people who know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good advice.
Yeah.
What about the fourth law?
Gold slippeth away from the man who invests in businesses or purposes with which he is not familiar or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep.
Okay, so don't invest in things you don't understand.
Exactly. Stick to what you know.
Okay, makes sense. And the fifth law?
Okay, this one is gold flees the man who would force it to impossible earnings or who followeth the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers or who trusts it to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment.
So basically, don't be greedy, don't be impatient.
Right. Be smart, be strategic.
Yeah. So did Nomasir finally learn his lesson? Did he start following these laws?
He did, eventually. It took some time and, a few more mistakes along the way.
Yeah, well, that happens, right?
It
You
does.
gotta learn somehow. But he eventually got it, right?
He did. He started applying those principles and turned things around.
Good for him. It's interesting how Clausen uses these stories, to teach these financial lessons.
Right. They really make it relatable.
Yeah, it's not just like dry theory.
No, it's engaging. It's memorable.
Okay, you mentioned earlier this modern-day archaeologist who found some ancient Babylonian tablets.
Oh, yeah, Professor Shrewsbury.
What's that all about?
Well, he was in a tough spot financially, had a lot of debt,
Hmm.
and he stumbles across these clay tablets that had the financial records of a camel trader named Dabasir.
Wait, that's the camel trader who escaped slavery, right?
Ye-
The one who vowed to pay back all his debts.
Yeah, that's him. It's like his story came full circle.
Wow. So what did these tablets say? Like, what was Dabasir's plan?
Well, it was actually pretty simple. He divided his income into three parts:
Okay.
10% for savings, 70% for living expenses, and 20% for debt repayment.
So even while paying off his debt, he was still, like, saving for the future. And
Exactly.
he was able to, like, still live his life.
Right. He wasn't depriving himself.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So Professor Shrewsbury, did he actually try this plan?
He did.
Yeah.
And it worked. He paid off his debts, started saving, and was even able to start investing.
So, like, this ancient Babylonian advice helped him in the modern world.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, right? But The Richest Man in Babylon isn't just about practical stuff, you know? It,
Sure.
it also explores, like, the relationship between money and happiness.
Right. We always hear money can't buy happiness, but I guess there's more to it than that.
Yeah, there is. And Clason explores this through the story of Sharunada.
Who's Sharunat?
He's called the luckiest man in Babylon.
Okay.
And he believed that happiness didn't come just from stuff,
Hmm.
but from purpose and meaning.
Okay.
He talked about the importance of human connection, generosity.
So, like, living a life that's, like, aligned with your values.
Exactly. And he also felt really strongly about work,
Okay.
not just as a way to make money, but as something that could bring joy and fulfillment.
Yeah, finding that work you love, right?
Exactly. Now, Sharanada, he was getting older, and he wanted to find a successor to his fortune. And he came across this young man, Hadan Gula.
Wait, is that the guy we talked about earlier, the one who loved luxury and, like, didn't want to work hard?
That's the one.
Why would Sharunata choose him?
Well, he saw potential in Hadan Gula,
Okay.
and he hoped to, guide him, share his wisdom.
Like a mentor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things he did was reveal a secret about Hadan Gula's grandfather.
Oh, what was the secret?
He told Hadan Gula that his grandfather, this wealthy and respected merchant, had actually started out as a slave.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it was a huge shock for Hadan Gula.
I bet. That kind of changes your whole perspective, right? Like, success isn't just about luck or privilege.
Exactly.
So it's about hard work and overcoming challenges.
Right. And that brings us to a really important point. How do we apply these ancient Babylonian principles to our modern lives?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? How do we bridge that gap between ancient Babylon and now?
That's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
All right, looking forward to it. Welcome back to this deep dive into the richest man in Babylon. So we've journeyed through ancient Babylon, right?
We have.
Learned all about those financial secrets and even heard about that modern-day archaeologist who, found inspiration in those old clay tablets.
It's fascinating how these stories from so long ago can still resonate with us today.
Yeah, for sure. But now we got to figure out how to actually apply all this stuff, in our own lives.
Right. Bridge the gap between ancient Babylon and the 21st century.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So let's start with those 7 cures for a lean purse. The first one, start thy purse to fattening. That's like pay yourself first, right?
Right.
But how do we do that, like practically speaking?
Okay, think of it this way. Before you do anything else, like before you pay your bills, buy groceries, even before you get that fancy coffee.
Yeah.
Set aside some money for your future self.
So make it a priority, not like an afterthought.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, there are so many tools available today that can make saving easier.
Right.
You can set up automatic transfers to a savings account, use those budgeting apps that track your spending and help you set goals.
Right.
There are even apps that let you invest small amounts regularly.
So like build those savings little by little.
Exactly, like building a financial foundation.
Okay, I like that. What about control thy expenditures? That
Mhm.
sounds a lot like budgeting, and that word always makes me think of restrictions.
I get that. But think of a budget more like a roadmap. It's not about limiting yourself, it's about understanding where your money's going and making conscious choices.
So being mindful, not depriving myself.
Exactly. And there are tons of different budgeting methods out there.
Yeah.
You can try the 50-30-20 rule, where 50% of your income goes to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and debt.
Oh, yeah.
Or you can try zero-based budgeting, where you allocate every dollar.
Wow.
It's all about finding what works for you.
Yeah, find that system that, like, fits your life.
Right.
Okay, so we're saving, we're budgeting. Now let's get to make thy gold multiply, that investing part. That's the part that feels kind of overwhelming to me.
It can be, for sure. But start by educating yourself. Read books, listen to podcasts,
Yeah.
talk to financial advisors you trust.
Okay.
Then you can start exploring different options like index funds, ETFs, real estate, or even starting your own business.
Oh, wow. Like
The key is to invest in things you understand and that fit your risk tolerance, and your goals.
and diversify, right, like we talked about.
Absolutely. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread those investments out.
Okay, good reminder. That actually ties into guard thy treasures from loss, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's all about doing your research before you invest in anything. Research the company, the industry, the market.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Get a second opinion.
Don't just jump in blindly.
Right. And remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Good advice. Okay, what about make of thy dwelling a profitable investment? Does that still apply today?
Owning a home can definitely be a good investment,
Okay.
but you got to be strategic about it. Research different neighborhoods, think about the long-term costs,
Right.
make sure you're really financially prepared for all that comes with home ownership.
So finding a place that's both a good home and a good investment.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. What about ensure a future income? That sounds like retirement planning to me.
Yeah, it is, but it's also about protecting yourself and your family if something unexpected happens,
Okay.
like an illness or disability.
Mm-hmm.
So things like retirement plans, life insurance, disability insurance, even long-term care insurance.
So it's about having that safety net, that protection.
Right, exactly.
Okay. And the last one, increase thy ability to earn. That one seems pretty straightforward. Invest in yourself.
Yeah, never stop learning and growing.
Right.
Embrace challenges, find mentors, keep developing your skills.
Yeah, I like that. So your earning potential is like unlimited as long as you're willing to put in the work.
That's the idea.
Okay, cool. But remember what Sharunata taught us, right?
Right.
Financial success isn't everything.
Absolutely. It's about finding your purpose, those meaningful relationships, contributing to the world.
So finding that balance between like financial well-being and a life you love.
Exactly. I think that's really the heart of The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting rich. It's about using those principles to create a life that's both prosperous and fulfilling.
Really makes you think. So I guess if we could ask Arkad one question today, what would it be?
Maybe. What's the one piece of advice you wish you had known when you were starting out?
Ooh, good question. I wonder what he would say.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I guess we'll never know for sure, but we can keep learning and growing.
Absolutely.
And maybe find our own answers along the way.
That's the journey.
All right, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Hope you enjoyed it.
Me too.
And until next time, keep those purses fattening.